Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Kinoshita Lecture in Architecture 2026. First of all, it is great to have you here physically together once again since 2019, and this year at our wonderful atrium space. My name is 𝐁𝐮𝐢𝐥𝐝, a second-year Master of Architecture student of the Chinese University of Hong Kong School of Architecture. Today, we are greatly honored to have invited world-renowned RIBA's gold medalist Pakistani architect, Dr. Yasmeen Lari, to deliver her lecture at our school. Titled, Building a Just Future: Decolonize, Decarbonize, Democratize. Now, may I invite Professor Peter Ferretto, Director of the School of Architecture, to introduce our distinguished speaker. Professor Ferretto, please.
Good evening. Hello, everyone, and welcome. This is the year's Schools of Architecture Kinoshita Lecture, an important event in our school's calendar, which has originated in 2001, thanks to the generous support of Mr. James Kinoshita, who is here with us tonight. And please join me in a warm welcome. Mr. Kinoshita is an international architect who significantly contributed to the development of architecture in our city. He has designed many important buildings in Hong Kong, including the AIA building in 1966, Jardine House in 1972, and the Landmark in 1983, amongst many others. He has now retired, and reading online, I would like to share a quote that I found. It says, after retiring, Mr. Kinoshita focuses on practical, economical solutions, viewing architecture as a means to serve people and support his family rather than seeking personal fame. I think there's no better segue to introduce tonight's speaker, Yasmeen Lari, who is probably the most important architect practicing in the field of architecture that serves people. Being a rare case of a school of architecture located in the Faculty of Social Science, a school whose values aims to empower people through architecture, we are truly honored to welcome Yasmeen Lari to our school. Yasmeen Lari has had an illustrious career. She was born in Pakistan, graduated from the School of Architecture at Oxford Brookes University, and became Pakistan's first female architect. Since her official retirement from architectural practice in the year 2000, she has founded the Heritage Foundation of Pakistan, which focuses on humanitarian relief and historical preservation and conservation projects in Pakistan. Today, her work lies at the intersection of architecture and social justice. She has been awarded numerous prestigious awards, including the Fukuoka Prize in 2016, the 𝐁𝐮𝐢 Prize in 2020, the RIBA Gold Medal in 2023, and has also been appointed the Sir Arthur Marshall Professor of Sustainable Design at the Department of Architecture, Cambridge University. On a personal note, it is a privilege that Ms. Lari is our first Kinoshita lecturer during my tenure as director. Her passion for architecture directly touches the core principles associated to our school's mission. First, that architecture plays a vital role in serving humanity, addressing issues of affordability and empowerment that have been for so long overlooked. And second, and I think this is very important that we're in this space, is her commitment to mentoring young people. Many of our students share her passion of changing the world, for designing sustainable buildings and creating architecture that empowers individuals and communities. Finally, I think the image of tonight's lecture that you can see here, designed by 𝐁𝐿𝐿, beautifully captures the spirit. It shows a stove designed with Yasmeen Lari and built by local women. Structures that both elevate and lend dignity to those who create and use them. Her work demonstrates that architecture has the power to instill dignity. And I would like to end a quote from a conversation that we had earlier today, where Yasmeen told me, architects should not build buildings, but build lives. Please join me in welcoming Yasmeen Lari.
Good evening. And thank you so much, Peter, for this lovely introduction. I'm very kind. So I bring you all greetings from Pakistan. That's where I come from. And of course, it's a great honor for me to present the annual Kinoshita Lecture started by Professor James Kinoshita, a great architect and educator, as we heard today, with his lifelong contributions to architectural education in the region. I feel deeply privileged that the legend that he is gracing the occasion along with his family. They're all here. We need to give them a hand. Thank you so much. I feel so honored also. Professor Edward is here and so many other really eminent architects and faculty members who've done so much. But also, I'd like to extend my really warm thanks to Professor Peter and Professor Cecilia for inviting me to your great Chinese University of Hong Kong, which is steering innovative pathways for future of architecture. So I'd like to thank also the team, especially Dr. Melody Yu and Joanne Wong for making arrangements for my visit. But for me, it's so wonderful to be here. I cannot begin to tell you. I feel as if I'm part of this family somehow, the way that I've received so much warmth, and it's unbelievable. Thank you so much. But also because so much work is going on here, which resonates so much with the work that I'm trying to do. And so wonderful to see that so many students and, of course, the faculty members are doing amazing work. So thank you so much for inviting me to be here with you. Building a Just Future, which you see the title, Decolonize, Decarbonize, Democratize Architecture, is a title that, of course, is all about the work that I'm currently engaged in. As some of you might be aware, and I see that a lot of you have studied the work that I've done, my work is dedicated to humanizing development processes, and I seek to utilize architecture and simplified building techniques to create a better quality of life for majority of my people. I worked only in Pakistan. That's where I do everything. And above all, to bring about empowerment, dignity, and inclusivity for women through a process of co-building and participative community approaches. It is about creating an architecture that is driven by humanist values of empathy, solidarity, and compassion, and generosity. For me, building a just future has become an architectural, moral, and planetary requirement. It must be done, one way or the other. And at a time when people endure multiple spatial injustices, we are called to mend the planet's torn tapestry for the well-being of humanity. As architects, will we deepen inequality and eco-bigotry, or will we commit to creating places of dignity, resilience, and shared belonging? Being aware of the deteriorating state of our wounded planet, we need urgently to decolonize mindsets for overcoming centuries-old colonial cultural domination, decarbonize our built environment for mitigating the impact of climate change and global warming, and democratize our practices to achieve spatial and socio-ecological justice for our communities, everywhere in the world, actually. So the architects, should we not respond to the grave challenges that we face? Global warming, recurring disasters, homelessness, the plight of climate migrants, and mass displacement born of brutal conflicts such as the genocide in Gaza. Even Hong Kong, with all the commendable efforts and declining poverty levels, still suffers from 1.37 million people below the poverty line, and a few thousand street sleepers due to unaffordable rents. Knowing that the colonial mindset has left a damaging legacy on the Earth's ecosystem, fostering wasteful, consumption-driven lifestyles and methods of construction, why must we continue to support the capitalist, neo-colonial approach of extract, use, discard? that has perpetuated the depletion of resources, entrenched eco-bigotry, and fueled unabated greenhouse gas emissions. In view of the worldwide climate emergencies, the fault lines have become into sharp focus in energy-driven, high-tech architecture and urban design practices in the world. Why must we continue to be enchanted by high-carbon, dazzling skyscrapers and the extravagant make-believe urban centers of oil-rich Middle Eastern kingdoms? To talk of some, well known for patronizing carbon-intensive megastructures that emit greenhouse gases over their entire life cycles. The question that has troubled me for a long time is, must architects aspire only to become prima donnas, creating star architects for the privileged few, regardless of the damage inflicted upon the earth? And that too in a world where 1 in 10 human beings goes to bed hungry every night. So let me start with where I'm coming from now. Let me see. So, how shall I do it? Yeah. Does it work this way? That's better. So it is somewhat ironic that despite the belonging to the third world, it was only after concluding my career of over 36 years that a massive 7.6 Richter scale earthquake in Pakistan in 2005 shifted my focus to the vast marginalized sections of my country. For the first time, I came face to face with the profound levels of poverty and deprivation that I had not known earlier. I had no idea. Until then, I had believed my training was solely meant to serve the elite, not to address the needs of communities in distress. Until then, I had believed my experience that I had, I came to realize that transformative power of design in helping disadvantaged communities to be able to lead better, more secure lives. Somehow we overlook that, the power of design that is there. So now let's see now. So as a practicing architect, aside from a few redeeming projects of social housing, I'd pursued an extravagant, self-indulgent journey for serving the elite of my country. For 3 decades, I sequestered myself within a world of privileges, only to realize that I was in fact contributing to growth of further inequalities in society. I felt, should I not be guided by humanistic codes and egalitarian ideals, just as doctors take the Hippocratic Oath to serve humanity? Surely the ethics of architecture must also compel us to strive for a just society. Why must we continue to seek patronage that has sustained architects for centuries, from wealthy entities such as the Medicis of Florence to today's capitalism-driven tech billionaires? I decided to abandon my elitist architectural practice and reset my priorities in order to help the vast majority that were affected by climate disasters, food insecurity, and ecological tyranny. I realized that it is not only the privileged who have a right to enjoy well-designed environments, but those that live on the margins, that need more, not less design, to achieve a better quality of life. This change in direction marked the beginning of my journey as a socio-ecological activist. Now, as in the case with most architects, I was not aware regarding high emission levels due to conventional construction. Now, as you see in the slide, studies by UNEP have shown the present way of building construction uses 40% of world energy, 16% of world water, 3 billion tons of raw material, generating 15 to 20% of waste stream that are a big chunk of lasting damage. So, knowing the harm caused by using conventional building methods, I decided forever to forego reliance on major polluters such as high carbon cement and steel. I haven't touched them since the year 2000. And other carbon-intensive industrialized materials. So myself, as a citizen of the global south, having seen abject poverty and belonging to a frontline vulnerable state that suffers from recurring disasters, for me, the basis of all development must be good design that incorporates climate resilience for the poorest. And just to first a little bit about the reservoir of diverse cultural heritage of Pakistan. The collection of tangible heritage ranges from Bronze Age World Heritage Mohenjo-Daro, Greco-Buddhist, Jain, Hindu, and Sikh remains, 15th century Sultanate period sites such as Makli World Heritage, Mughal Shalimar Paradisal Gardens, forts and palaces, and a shared heritage of the British colonial period of 19th and 20th centuries. The intangible heritage has shaped the lives of our people that is all-pervading and includes Sufi traditions and spiritualism, folklore, ecstatic dance and music, oral history, and particularly diverse crafts, many still being practiced by rural women that have been passed on to them from generation to generation, from mother to daughter. And then the vernacular heritage, from where I've learned the use of sustainable materials, local sourcing, ease of handling, economy in use, all based on age-old local wisdoms. So the traditional architecture in Pakistan is a depository of procedures to regulate indoor microclimate without mechanical means. These help us to devise innovative ways to deal with today's climate upheaval. This is a wonderfully decorated 19th century mansion in Peshawar's walled city. The courtyard configuration creates its own microclimate. Cold or warm air, depending upon the weather, is stored in the atrium that keeps the surrounding rooms cool or warm during the day. And then this book is about the historic town of Thatta with its distinctive wind scoops and beautiful lime-stabilized mud-plastered walls. The sketch shows how prevailing wind is drawn inside the house, providing natural ventilation. And again, as I said, without any mechanical means at all. So as I said, although we have rich heritage, but our people grapple with severe poverty, inequality, and deprivation. As I began working with marginalized communities, I felt a deep empathy for those who walked barefoot and had become my fellow travelers. I realized that walking without shoes has its own rewards. It fosters a connection with the earth and a reminder of traditions that are rooted in judicious utilization of the planet's resources. Has anybody ever walked on dew in the morning, on grass at all? Maybe sometimes it's a good idea to do that. It was the interaction with impoverished and vulnerable populations that compelled me to dispense with my hugely inflated ego, obligating me to swallow the bitter pill of humility by sitting at the threshold of the poor, exploring their age-old practices. Learning from Pakistan's pre-industrial vernacular heritage, I understood that design is not a stand-alone activity. It must be underpinned by considerations of social impact and ecological sustainability. This bottoms-up approach has enabled me to mitigate injustices through a nexus of architectural design, tradition, and local knowledge. As Architect for the Poor, a deeply cherished title that I received from Politecnico di Milano, and Marco's here from there. So at the time of the award of an honorary degree, I'm compelled to help implement Edward Soya's vision of spatial justice. As an activist, my mission extends to bringing about tangible, impactful design or change by promotion of social and ecological justice and empowerment of the voiceless through architecture. It's so wonderful to see that your title of agency through architecture is so good. It is so apt. Wonderful to see that. So I developed Barefoot Social Architecture, or BASA, inspired by the barefoot communities that I worked with. It emerged from my effort to define decarbonized, decolonized, and democratized architecture that reflects the rights-based principles of community development. For the past couple of decades, BASA has been the foundation shaping the entire ethos and ecology of my work. BASA is a holistic, human-centered approach to disaster-resilient housing and development that is driven by community itself. Promoting humanistic humanitarianism, it fosters an empathetic, accessible, and participatory culture for marginalized communities that enables them to become drivers of change rather than waiting for external handouts. At the heart of BASA lies what I call the 4 zeros: zero carbon, zero emissions, zero waste, and zero reliance on donor funding, and ultimately zero poverty. These are not slogans, but lived commitments. These are the foundations of a circular economy and a pathway of justice without discrimination. For centuries, communities have suffered tyranny, whether dispossession, inequity, or neglect. BASA has reversed the tide of socio-ecological injustices by placing women in the lead that fosters co-building and co-creation. And this little stove is an example of co-creation. This has led to shared ownership, dignity, equitable living, and self-reliance. So I just wanted to introduce to you my 2 gurus. Hasan Fateh. Have you heard of Hasan Fateh, anybody? Do you know his work at all? Well, maybe it's a good idea to talk about him more. He's the Earth Guru, author of Architecture for the Poor, who taught me the value of engaging communities and to enable them to unleash their creativity. I wonder how many, it'd be good to know how many can actually know about this. And then this is about Marcus Vitruvius, that I'm sure that all of you must have heard of, is ancient Roman, from whom I learned the use of lime, as well as the importance of air, water, earth, and fire, 4 elements, the alchemy of which leads us to democratic norms and behavior. And myself, there are 4 materials that I use. Is earth. Combination of unfired clay-rich earth and straw provides passive environmental control, buffers relative humidity, creates non-toxic, healthy internal environment. Its waste becomes a resource, and it minimizes stress on heating or cooling systems with zero embodied energy and zero eco footprint. I'm so happy that Peter was telling me that you have been to Africa and working with mud there. So it is something that's amazing to be able to do. And then, of course, there's lime, through the alchemy of which a fire transforms a lump of stone into an unparalleled force that has provided strength from the first century BC Roman aqueducts. Did any of the students know about this? How good lime has been? Have you ever heard of it? Anybody? Well, maybe we should be introducing lime rather than cement. So, and once the common earth and lime are mixed together, water provides a strength that cannot be surpassed by any other material, and the least by Portland cement, I believe. So the third material is bamboo, as you see, which is amazing material. It yields a crop every 3 years. It is a carbon sink, and it is really the ease of use is amazing because it's the mainstay of my own non-engineered seismic and flood-resistant structures. And the fourth material that provides comfortable habitat is thatch, which we ignore, but it's a natural renewable plant material and provides a connection with natural environment. These are the materials that I've used, and that's how I create my zero carbon architecture. And these are, while I was attempting to find some sustainable options for resource deficient communities, I was influenced by several mid-century thinkers who had promoted various building methodologies and low-impact, low-tech procedures. So there's giants such as John Turner, with his book Housing by People, advocating self-help housing. There's also economist Fritz Schumacher with his small is beautiful philosophy for human-centered approaches, and social critic Ivan Illich with his tools for conviviality, warning against climate destruction. And then, as I mentioned earlier, I've been a believer in seeking inspiration from heritage and vernacular traditions, which I believe help heal the planet, enable us to contribute towards net zero emissions goal by 2050, and I've laid them out. Bottoms-up approach, encouraging efficient use of resources, ensuring zero carbon footprint, participatory methodologies, and passive thermal design, and zero energy, natural ventilation and cooling. This is one-room house, is the first prototype, built after major 2010 floods, which is based on lime brick foundations, earth masonry walls, and bamboo roof joints. Now, this is entirely climate resilient, affordable, and sustainable. And as you can see, there were no carbon emissions, no trees were felled, 1,750 villages were covered, and 300,000 persons were housed. Now, what is interesting is that my sustainable model got a chance because donor fatigue had set in. There was not enough money. And our version cost 1/4 of the cost of international models. So finally, that's why I believe in no money now. I think we can do much more when there is little resources left. So as you can see, the concerns are laid to rest by getting 10 to 12 family members to climb on the roof because nobody believed it was strong enough. And so we just did that. Just a slide to show how it's co-built and personalized by housewives. They're the ones who personalize these structures themselves. And then, of course, the Pakistan Chula that you have so kindly introduced already. And now these are these are actually got a World Habitat Gold Award. This stove has been life transforming, giving dignity and agency to oppressed women. On this elevated throne is a mud throne. The housewife creates a make-believe earth relief garden that she never had, and recreates a dream with earthen sculpted celestial figures to transport the onlookers and herself to another world, away from poverty and oppression. This self-built stove has given rural women respect in society and is a compelling expression of their pride, confidence, and ownership. So this is shows the versatility of the simple bamboo structure for multiple uses. Have I got it? Yeah. Okay. I managed to fine-tune the traditional cross-braced Zhiji or sturdy construction technique with introduction of modern concept of prefabrication. The strength of the structure has since been tested in many thousands of villages and buildings. The use of prefab panels and modular form provides multiple possibilities. There are some of the variations to show how versatile such structures are. The prefabrication technique and modular forms has facilitated varied configurations and change of roof form from conical to sloping and also domical. And then, of course, you already have the slide that I have to show you, which is, the one that I think keeps on appearing here, one that was built in Bangladesh, then in Royal Estate of Highgrove, and then also in Doha, decorated by my female artisans. And so this is, again, it was done by Al Jazeera. It says Women Center on Stilts. And you can see that, sorry, where do I go back? Yeah, it's okay. Yeah. Oh, yeah, okay. So it just shows how, how you can deal with the rising waters, with flooding and everything, because then if you have the upper floor, you are secure in that. And so there we are. And then to show the potential of bamboo, this is the size of 17 meter by 23 meter by 7 meter high. This is the largest bamboo structure in Pakistan, and utilized extensively as a training facility for nearby poor mendicant communities. And then this, of course, shows when you use it as an international conference center. Now, it was built by non-literate, semi-skilled artisans. Its openness provides air movement and cool interior without any mechanical arrangement. And this is a large community center that actually, again, we're showing it here. And there we are. It was in Doha, and then it was dismantled and taken to Venice Biennale. And it was stood there for several months, as you know, in the exhibition there. So this is the good thing about prefabrication. You can pack it, you can take it anywhere that you like. And the fact is that it's all built by really non-literate people. So, and I call them transition structures because they're not really permanent. They are mostly without any foundations, but they are designed to be quite strong, and they can withstand any kind of shocks. But normally for flooding, we actually have foundations. So this is being taken back to Doha, and it'll be a neighbor to the spectacular 𝐻𝐻𝐿 Museum, which is a little bit ironic, but there it is. And then this segment is about my presentation on the devastating floods in Pakistan. The deluge wreaked havoc across the entire country. 1/3 of Pakistan was submerged, 3 million people were displaced. The majority had become destitute without shelter or adequate food. And since province alone where I live, 3 million households were in a critical state and needed immediate action. We felt that this was the time to demonstrate the effectiveness of humanistic humanitarianism and efficacy of participatory coping methodologies. This community-based disaster preparedness emerged as the cornerstone to achieve Sustainable Development Goal number 1, which is no poverty. Clearly, if 3 million households needed help to meet the target of sustainable rehabilitation, we would have to aim for 1 million households at a time. So then this is really the post-disaster survival I thought was only possible if we aimed for this zero poverty, sustainability, and resilience of communities. But we needed to aim for 12 SDGs to get there. So in a paradigm shift from international colonial charity model, I built our strategy drawn upon humanist values of empathy, solidarity, and compassion. Households with women in the lead have become empowered partners in pursuing goals of resilient rebuilding, thus becoming key actors in their own rehabilitation. And as you know, I've been guided by heritage and vernacular traditions, which are also elements that heal the planet. In the slide, you see the pointers that have guided my humanistic humanitarianism. Now, on the left is the devastated village of Pono, and you see the same village that was once submerged could be rehabilitated in a very short time. And this is what I call the poverty escape ladder. I designed as a framework for the destitute to become self-sufficient one step at a time. They gradually go up. This methodology requires $150 worth of materials and peer-to-peer guidance to foster self-building and co-building, achieving goal number 1, which is zero poverty, within 12 months. Beginning with destitution, first they fulfill their basic needs of shelter and other minimum requirements for living. The next step is to achieve food sufficiency. The third, to begin environmental stewardship through plantation. The next step is to take up flood mitigation measures to absorb water into the soil and aquifer. And lastly, income generation by making affordable eco products for the other poor, not for the rich, and you can become self-sufficient. So this is the one that you also see. It's been displayed here, prefabricated climate resilient house that costs $90 US. And this is the basis of security, particularly for women. And as you can see, the structure of each house is erected in 2 hours. It is wrapped with matting and then finished with lime mud plaster, mostly by housewives. The roof is covered with thatch panels. Although each bamboo prefab structure is the same, however, each one becomes unique since housewives personalize it with their own creative designs. This is how they participate in the whole thing. So now, just to say what was this step one on the poverty escape ladder, it focuses on meeting rights-based needs of shelter, a one-room house, shared toilets, water supply, and solar energy, and smokeless earthen stove. These essentials create dignified living conditions and privacy, particularly for women. Then the slide, this is step number 2. It addresses food sufficiency by teaching families to grow vegetables and cereals, breeding fish in domestic tanks and poultry to fulfill their dietary needs. Surplus vegetables are bartered for dairy products, creating a balanced food supply. And then these are steps number 3 and 4, providing environmental stewardship as well as flood mitigation. So it's planting community forests with indigenous trees, all enhancing biodiversity, flood mitigation measures, work in tandem with environmental stewardship, such as conserving floodwater in ponds, replenishing depleted aquifers through trenches or recharge wells, enhancing soil fertility while securing villages against future floods. So all of it has to be done. And then the step 5, a training of barefoot skills. They begin generating income from eco projects, ranging from basketry from banana waste, reed matting, bamboo products, and handmade pottery and craft based on waste fabric. So crafts, again, play a very important role here. They are enabled to begin production and marketing of their barefoot products to fulfill the basic needs of impoverished people in the area. The assisted holistic model has enabled 10,000 families, or almost 100,000 people, to break free from the cycle of poverty within a year. But I found little support for my sustainable model of rehabilitation by the government. They wanted to do high carbon stuff, so they didn't really want to support that. So in April 2023, I launched the program 1 Million Families at a Time. And you can see how you can actually bring about transformation. So we devised a new framework for communities to escape poverty. Humanistic humanitarianism, zero donor dependence, 4 zeros, as I said, zero carbon, zero waste, zero charity for zero poverty. And potential in poverty, peer-to-peer knowledge sharing. So I devised another poverty escape ladder. But there are 9 steps rather than earlier 6. And 4 years are needed instead of 1 year to overcome poverty. We have achieved considerable progress for 1 million families, or 7 to 8 million people. Within 30 months, step 1 to 4 were achieved. 1 million families became food sufficient and became flood secure. 1 million trees were planted, more than that, I think 3 to 4 million trees were planted, 100 hectares of land brought under plantation. Within 36 months, they were on their way to reach step 5 to 8. 9,000 villages became engaged in barefoot enterprises for affordable eco products and, basically, marketing in poor communities, not for the rich. 100,000 people achieved access to self-built shared toilets. 50,000 families built flood-resilient houses, costing $25 US. And 80,000 children began attending 800 self-built flood-resilient village schools. 16,000 villages gained access to preventive healthcare guidance through mobile teams. We estimate that they will become self-sufficient by December 2026, almost 4 years after launching of zero donor dependent model. Now, maybe you don't think it's for architects to do this, but as Peter kindly said, I believe we have to build people's lives, and we have to, that means, do everything to make them secure and dignified living. So I found that it is the use of vernacular traditions that brings communities together, enabling them to deal with adversity, utilizing strength of traditional methodologies and feeling of empathy with each other, enables them to work together. And then sustainable rehabilitation is driven by barefoot resource economy. It is an economic model which fosters democratized development by maximizing available resources, providing affordable, replicable solutions, and utilizing people's own strengths. So this slide demonstrates how co-building activity brings the village community together. In the self-built community center, you see colorful murals painted by 13-year-old Kamla, who has expressed her own sense of pride and ownership. And this is something that I wanted to show you because I'm so happy that our M+ curator, Shirley Surya, is here because we were honored by her visit and visit of her friends from A Field Fellows and who kindly joined in this amazing painting with the village earth painting experts. So thank you very much for being there, Shirley. And so then would you agree with me that decarbonization and democratization as well as decolonization are essential if we wish to repair the planet and heal humanity at the same time? So you can see how important then for me humanistic humanitarianism is, peer-to-peer knowledge transfer, placing faith in local resources, values of empathy, compassion, and solidarity. And then deep carbonization by devising climate-smart methodologies, zero carbon structures, sequestering carbon in materials, soil and wetlands, and basically using untapped natural and waste resources, which would help to clean up the environment as well. And then as we democratize architecture and rehabilitation processes by handing over control to communities, fostering co-building and co-creation. So this I thought I'll present to you to show what we're trying to do and how much can be done without any funding. But now I want to take you to the cities also. This again is about decarbonization and greening of highly degraded urban environments. You can see the challenges we are faced with burgeoning population, and this is happening in so many cities around the world actually. The rise in violence, deficiency in physical and social infrastructure. We have 50% slum population and 60 to 80% greenhouse gas emissions, and 50% waste is in our cities. And worst of all, there are urban heat islands, urban flooding, where public spaces are gravely threatened and there is deficit of recreational spaces for women, children, and youth. And so I wanted to show you this particular slide. This is about my city of Lahore in Pakistan. And I believe there are many lessons can be drawn from our energy-efficient traditional inner cities, many of which have several attributes for creation of low-energy humanistic urbanism. And really, I think more and more, the more we can delve into our past in all our countries, there are traditions that were there, and they're the ones who can be the pointers for us as to how we live out the future. And again, Peter showed me this particular village where students have gone and worked there. And there's so much richness there. And this is something that, again, we should learn from and try to replicate. So that is there. And also Professor Edwards showed me the slide about, building with layered mud. And so there are all these particular techniques that exist in all our countries, and we have to build upon them now. So many of us believe that traditional urbanism is equivalent to ecological urbanism, and none has written more about it than Professor Stefan Lemon of Sustainable Urbanism fame. So you can see compact cities, not sprawl. Low-rise, medium-density, mixed-use developments, not skyscrapers. We can't afford them anymore anyway. They are too damaging for all of us. And then, of course, vehicle-free streets, green and water bodies, low-impact hybrid architecture, because we can minimize energy consumption by now making maybe high carbon frame, but all the internal finishes could be zero carbon. So we can do so much throughout the tools that we have as designers now, and also saving all heritage as well as repurposing contemporary buildings. We need to reduce carbon. So we need to adopt design principles that can help transform our present wasteful urban centers into low carbon enclaves. And we know that cities are for people, not for cars. We forget that sometimes. We urgently need to humanize our urban centers in order to achieve climate resilient, ecologically driven urbanism. Now what I wanted to show you, actually share with you this particular slide about Karachi and why am I pursuing this particular project of decarbonizing and greening of the city. And you can see this is a state, 25 million people, highly degraded urban environment. And we can see that the city's environmental crisis is aggravated due to green grabbing of most urban spaces and loss of public commons. So the current ecological tyranny is apparent in 50% of the ultra-poor living in slums, as I said. And another 20-25% are being forced to live under substandard housing. So as the architect for the poorest of the poor and working with all people for people living on the margins, whether integrated environments or under slum conditions. I felt my only option was to become a spatial justice activist in order to help bring about ecological equity through community effort. So this it is towards eco-urbanism, one eco street at a time. I believe in taking small steps which can then grow in something bigger. So this is again, it's about urban landscape regeneration and community renewal. And the first eco street was completed, and in late 2021, and it successfully dealt with the issues of pollution, urban heat islands, and urban flooding. It has suffered from the worst of urban blight and is possible to show how city streets can be humanized through application of eco principles and participatory approaches. So I thought I'll present to you just to show what I'm trying to do in our urban centers. And so, as you see, this is the street with, again, working with a few basic principles. And the focus is on heritage, which has helped save about 12 historic structures. There are 4 large Miyawaki-style dense forests that cool the sea air, boost biodiversity, attracting birds, bees, and butterflies. Asphalt and concrete paving have been replaced with terracotta cobbles in walkways, which helps in cooling the air. 7 aquifer wells absorb a large quantity of water, replenish the past aquifer. And I'm learning a lot from the sponge city concept that is now popular in China, where so many cities have been taken up. And then also making vehicle-free streets, allowing cultural and other community activities to flourish. So after 3 years, our trees grew to more than 6 meters, showing a difference of 12-degree temperature between outside and inside the street. The street also remained flood-free during excessive urban flooding in 2022. So basically, how do you create sponge streets? And you see on the left are the aquifer wells. Then the second picture shows how there are terracotta cobbles. There's no concrete. I rip out all the concrete and all the asphalt from any streets that I can lay my hands on. And then, of course, you know, we have the porous pavement, so we have more water. And then on the last one shows how we have these Miyawaki-style street. There are many street forests, Miyawaki style. So now, I mean, some of these concepts, none of these concepts are new actually, but the combination of recharge wells, permeable terracotta pavers, and terracotta sponge pavements, and many street forests has created a new paradigm in eco-urbanism. So I just will run through these slides. It just shows basically, you know, what it was and what it became. So it's just these slides. I won't talk about them because I think you have enough written on them, but let's just see. So again, this is when we got this flooding. This is what it looks like. And then this is how it can be, or did become. So let's go next. Again, this is a beautiful 19th century historic building that was in this particular state. And then this is what it became finally. So much is possible in all our cities, at least in my own country that I'm familiar with. But I'm sure that elsewhere as well, a lot is possible. Then this is the second one that again is a highly degraded environment, right in the middle of the city with a huge congestion. And its focus is this particular 150-year-old police post built by the British, but in a terrible state. So the community was responsible for planting, you know, let me see now if I can go back. Yeah, and this is, you can see, we started restoring it, but you can see the mess all around it. And then, so this is what finally, when it looked like. And again, basically the plantation was done by the community, and the families living around the area have developed a strong sense of ownership, and not only taking care of planting and maintaining the forest, they've taken over the running of the library that has now become, that police post is now acting as a library. So again, let's see, sorry. Yeah, you can see the plan on the left, and you can see how people are really using it now. and taking care of things. And now this is actually the third eco street that was finished off actually late last year. And until early last year, there was a mere disorganized thoroughfare next to a slum with 400 families. As you can see, this looked in a pretty terrible state. And then there's a slum on the left, and now this is what it looks like. Right? So every street can actually be transformed, and you can see there's a bamboo gazebo there, and that provides shelter from strong sun for use by community. And this is how it's now been taken over by the community itself, and they are really taking care of it and cleaning it. So this is the plan, which is the this is the slum on this side here, and this is how we've got the trees, but we've also got these gazebos, and this one is really a small street library, which is now being used. So there's so much potential in this kind of thing. And then this is what it is. It's a recent photograph. Within a year, plantations had taken over. It's being really looked after extremely well, and part of the community paid part of it, and the private corporate sector actually paid for part of it as well. So we have this three-way kind of partnership. And then this is the library that has been painted by the slum children. Oops, sorry. And so they are, they've painted it and they are taking care. And this has now become a place where it's a children's art studio now of the slum children who never had a chance before. So by repurposing urban streets as community commons, we are promoting a culture of inclusivity. The Eco Street fosters spatial, social, and ecological justice, enabling extended public space for use by those living on the margins, in congested areas and slums. It can be taken up anywhere, really. So it's clear that community-driven, innovative, local actions can lead to healthy environments for the well-being of residents, even in the most congested and dense cities. In most countries, the field of eco-urbanism and conversion into eco-streets and so many other aspects is wide open. There are very few architects working on that. And knowing that the future belongs to technology and the proliferation of AI tools, which will in the near future render conventional architectural and design practices redundant. I don't know whether many are aware of that. I would like to see that our profession nurtures young professionals. They're the future for us, preparing them to serve the ever-expanding communities of the disadvantaged. There are so many of them, and they need help. For in such context, services motivated by humanistic values would remain the most precious resource, a resource that cannot be delivered by inert machines, but by sensitive and compassionate designers. That is the wonderful tool that all architects have when you're trained, and being trained so well in fine universities such as this one. So one that ensures that the spirit of common good prevails, that you can do. A spirit that resonates with all who struggle for social and ecological justice. And can you bring about a change in the practice of architecture and urban design? And will you become humanistic humanitarians, or climate smart urbanists, or socio-ecological entrepreneurs, or social justice champions, or eco warriors, or maybe city vigilantes to save our cities? Because if we don't do this, who will? Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Lari, for sharing your words of wisdom with us. Please remain on stage for the moment. Dr. Lari has kindly agreed to take a few questions from our audience. May I invite Professor Peter Ferretto to come forward again to moderate the Q&A session for us. Professor Ferretto, please. So in a bit, if you would like to ask a question, please raise your hand and our staff will bring you the microphone. So I'll pass the time to Peter.
Thank you. Thank you so much. That was warm and inspiring and very meaningful for our school and for our community. I think before I give the floor to the audience and ask and hear their questions, I'd just like to say that today Yasmeen Lari has been here since yesterday. She's been here today talking to our faculty. Tomorrow she's going to see our students. And she spends a lot of time taking care of the people she meets. So really thank you from the heart for that. I think the next piece of information before we have the questions is that we were talking about it's very meaningful to that minds that think alike need to work together. And I think there's a lot of synergy between what you do and what the school does and what the faculty do here. And thanks to the generous support of the Dean, we have a grant to look at post-disaster sustainability. So myself and other colleagues will try to do our utmost to come to Pakistan and see your work and learn from you. So thank you for that, and thank you for arranging that. And now to the floor. Any questions from our audience or students? The Dean.
No, I think we should reserve for students. Yeah.
Hello. Thank you, Dr. Lari, for the really wonderful talk about your later career on the ecological or the social justice standpoint of architecture. But I did some research about your background, and then it just happened that you didn't really talk about your earlier stage of architect as a star architect or as a really commercial targeting side of career. I just wonder about what do you think about that path of career? What did that taught you, or did that benefit some kind to your later career to contribute to your current approaches of architecture?
Well, I think it was useful. It's a good question, huh? Because sometimes I also wonder myself whether it was any good what I did earlier. But I think it's helped me in many ways. First of all, of course, I think the training is the one that was the most important, really, because it gave me the tools which I could use, design I could use for all kinds of situations, and much more so now than ever before. But also, I think working in the field teaches you, or at least allows you to be able to interact with a lot of people and to bring about consensus. Because with communities, you have to understand what their needs are without their specifically actually telling you. And I think that's what architects are good at, aren't we? I mean, we can understand what the needs are, even though the client might say something quite different. And I think it's very important for us to do that, because only then we can design what we think is the best thing for them, right? And I think here too, I found is the same kind of thing. And I think it all helped a lot in knowing how to work with people, how to design for them, how to cater for their needs rather than imposing. I think the only difference was that as an architect, I felt very much in control. I could not let go without control. And also I had a terrible inflated ego. That didn't help much. So you have to really get rid of that if you want to work with communities. And I think it probably makes you a better person. I feel I'm a little bit better. And I think I can relate to people much better than before. And so, yeah, I think it all helped, but I think the training helped a lot too. I think that's the starting point, really, which you are doing, in fact. So it's amazing to see this happening here, actually. Yeah.
Thank you.
Hello, thank you so much, Dr. Lari, for the speech you gave us. For context, I'm from Indonesia, and I'm very familiar with these unregulated urban landscapes or the slum dwellings that you were talking about. And what I wanted to ask is, how do you determine who are the first million of families that get the support of the social justice? Because I realize that there are many affected areas and affected people, and you said we do 1 million at a time, but who gets the first say? And another question is, as students, how do we start to go into this direction? Like, how do we actually create social impact when we are not professionally trained yet? Thank you.
For students who do want to do similar work, yeah? Well, I think that, first of all, I think this particular university, I think, is doing absolutely amazing work in sensitizing all of you, I think, which I have not found, actually, in many universities elsewhere. So I think it's been wonderful for me to see how the focus is on these issues which are so important and relevant for your generation. But I think that I always feel that for young people, the profession is not providing the support that it needs to change direction. Because mostly these institutes are run by older architects. Are there any here from Institute of Hong Kong Architects at all? Yes, you are? Oh, well, then you're the right person. So I think that I'm talking to my own Institute of Architects in Pakistan as well. I happened to be a president of them many years ago. And I think we need to now develop a kind of three-way partnership for young people who want to do something different. Because it's no longer the question of waiting for commissions. It's like becoming an entrepreneur. And for that, we need support from every quarter, especially when you're young. Now, if they're working in the humanitarian field, why should they do it for free? They're professionals, they need to earn a living, and they must in a reasonable manner. So my sort of suggestion is, if you'd like to think about it, first of all, of course, university is doing everything possible to sensitize them, but I think they need to do a bit more, and I'm so happy that the director is here, because now we can decide to provide studio space to them, provide mentorship to the students, whoever wants to do something different. Because if once they go out and start working in a busy architectural practice, they don't have a chance to come back to this kind of work. So if you were to do that at the university, and then if the institute kindly provides a linkage with corporate sector and provides the funding that's needed to pay their salaries, then they can start working on the kind of topics that you are interested in pursuing. And for them to start going in the direction like, the tech industry does. It has these incubators where they cherish and they nurture their own young people. And we don't do that. We throw them out, well, not throw them out, but send them off in the market, as they say. And that's the end of them then. And then they will do nothing except to become star architects. And they might or they might not anymore. So it would be very good if that could work out. And I think the corporate sector, especially the producers of all kinds of materials that should not be produced, also make a lot of money. The time has come for them to maybe now start contributing in some way. But you will be the key in getting it done, because funding is very important. So it could be that would be nice. Will that happen, do you think? Yes? What do you think? You guys have also got to, fight for it. It won't come easy.
And I think there was the first part of the question is, how would you select the communities that you work with?
Or how do we do it? Well, I don't have a problem, because I've been working with communities for a long time. So I think, and the chula, you might be surprised, and it's the women who really want me there. And that's why it happens, because the chula is the breakthrough we've got. And everybody now knows about the Pakistan chula. And, as I showed, 1 million of these have been built. So everybody, whoever can have access, they start building that. And so, then everything else comes easy. Then they listen to me. So I don't see them, but I send them lots of messages. And with the AI, I was explaining to our colleagues yesterday, we're doing lots of stories, which are kind of all illustrations done by AI. And we send them out as stories about how do you wash hands, what do you do, what about stars, where are the planets, everything. And so they learn, and they learn and they do things. So that's all we have to do. And and they listen to everything I say, because they have, in every village, they have at least one cell phone. So you see pictures coming back, people watching what I'm saying, children, mothers, fathers, everybody around watching. So there's a lot that we can do. But we have to keep on still struggling and finding ways to see that, they understand and do things. It's not easy, but it becomes easier as you work on that. Right? I don't know those answers. But you come to Pakistan, I'll show you how.
Any more questions over there?
Dr. Larry, in the first half of your lecture, principles like zero charity or no donor dependence constantly appears. So could you tell us more about your definition of charity or donor dependence in such practices? And why do you find zero charity and no donor dependence very important in your practice?
Well, I somehow don't believe in money, first of all, because I think it's very corruptive in many ways, especially in countries like ours, where whatever funding comes into the country, we don't know where it goes, who takes it, certainly doesn't get to the poor. So what do we need the money for? And also I think charity, destroys your own self-respect. I think anything is like a handout, which really nobody should be having to accept. I believe in dignity of people and giving them a kind of a respect that is due to them. So it's better that we help them. So it's knowledge that we need. Sometimes, it's surprising, even knowledge is very difficult to get to. It's more difficult than money. I mean, people are very willing to give me a lot of money to my help, to my foundation. But I've just now totally blocked my account. I don't accept any money. I don't raise any money. And I'm much happier. And so we work with people. And people, we find what little resources they have. Sometimes it's so little you wouldn't be surprised. And everybody who goes and teaches them, like the ones who teach them about how to build the stove, those women have become barefoot millionaires because there's so much money in poverty. If it's very small amounts and they charge, they're like consultants, the ones who teach. So, I have 1 million women working away in their fields. I have another 1 million men who are working. I've got enormous numbers of young people, the champions that we have, committees. We have another 3 members, 3 women in each committee in every village. I've got 18,000 villages. There's so much workforce and there's so much waste around which you can use. You'd be surprised if you went to countryside. There's just so much there. The natural materials are there. So you don't really need much money, to be able to improve your life. But you do these design, okay? And that's where you can help. That's what you do, right?
Thank you. Thank you for the lecture. I would like to ask about bamboo. Yeah, here. Yeah. I would like to ask about bamboo.
Yeah, right.
In Hong Kong, we also use bamboo, but mostly for some temporary structures and not so much for social architecture. So I would like to ask about the bamboo atelier model. I can see it is community led, it's zero carbon, and also it's a cultural reconnections. So can you give us some insight how we can adopt it in Hong Kong in a better way? Thank you.
I think you pointed out the right difficulty where bamboo has not been considered suitable for wealthier or middle-class people. It's been always known as the poor man's wood. So it wasn't considered good enough. Although we find that some very beautiful structures have been put up in bamboo, and many of, Southeast Asia particularly. And it grows so well in so many countries. But I think, what I've done is since 2010, I've used nothing but bamboo. Because I don't believe in using wood in any case. We should not be cutting any wood. You've lost all your wood, right? So we shouldn't be cutting any more. But what choice do we have? Bamboo is most amazing. It is very quick to use. It doesn't require much work. You have to protect it from insects, and that is very easy to do. And then you can build really, zero carbon structures. And why is it that if we can't even use it for, let's say, here in your frames, structural frame, if you do it in either steel or in concrete, although I don't like it, but if you do. But internally, why can't you use bamboo partitions or bamboo flooring or bamboo everything, really? And I think we need to popularize. But I think a lot of research is available now, and I think it's like young people like yourselves who've got to take it forward now. Not only when you work with the poor, but even the rich. They should also start using it. It's good for the planet.
Thank you. I think we have time for 2 more. Last 2 questions. Over there.
Hello, thank you so much for the talk, Professor Lari. I found it very inspiring, especially the part that you mentioned about using vernacular architecture to address urban problems. So I was wondering if there's a way to maybe expand these efforts to beyond Pakistan and beyond South Asia to maybe Southeast Asia to also address the urban problems in that area. For context, I'm also from the Philippines. So I've seen like a lot of like floods and how natural disasters can affect our communities. And it's really amazing how you found that vernacular architecture can possibly solve these problems.
Right. It's about the eco street.
And also how you could apply it outside of.
Yeah. What do you think? Do you think you need it in Hong Kong? What do you think? The young lady who spoke. Do you think you need one in Hong Kong?
Yeah, I think we need it in Hong Kong.
You're getting
as
urban
well.
flooding now, aren't you?
Sorry?
And you're getting urban flooding, right?
Yeah, quite some, yeah.
And also you don't have that much vegetation and trees anymore.
Yeah.
So maybe you could take up a street, and why can't the university sponsor one and you guys go and do it?
Yeah.
It should not be difficult, because what you need to do is just get permission to block the street, no vehicles, rip out all the concrete pavements. You have too much of it, it's not so good, you know. And you replace it with the terracotta tiles, and plant trees in the middle of the street, not as an urban forest somewhere else, right in the middle. And you get the community together, and you'll be surprised how much can be done with that. Just take any street, just as a, you know, and I'll send you the toolkit. We've already developed one, which is because the Commonwealth Association of Architects is planning to take it forward next year in several countries, I hope. And even in Pakistan, the other day some architects said, you know, the Institute of Architects actually committed that they will also take it up. So I hope that, because architects, I think, need to do it. That is how you will improve your communication with communities, but also you'll do a lot of good for them, you know. It can do wonders really for them. And if you want any, I said you all the details, why didn't you take it up?
Ah, okay. Thank you so much. I love that. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you. And now we have a final question.
Thank you very much for your presentation. I'm interested to know, in terms of the projects that you talk about, making the street forest and helping the poor, that's wonderful. But I am wondering whether you can shed some light as to how you can get the right, the legal rights to get access or be allowed to do those things. I'm thinking about comparing to the case of Hong Kong, whether it's a disastrous, a post-disastrous scenario or anything, the streets or even the fallen building, the burnt building, they belong either to the public, the government, or to a private sector. And it's not possible, I think, for most cases in Hong Kong, even we have a very righteous cause and say we just come in and help to rebuild a burned building or just to beautify the street or even plant a tree, because we just don't have the legal right to do so. So I just wonder, in all the wonderful work that you've done, did you get some kind of either public or private support that gives you the access and the way to channel your efforts to? Because even if you want to preserve a building, and that building belong either to the government or to a private company or what. So how did you seek their permission and support to do your work as well as the ongoing maintenance of that project? Thank you.
So is it about urban areas or rural areas?
I think the question is urban areas.
Urban areas, yeah, okay. Well, that's true. We need some support. We need permissions only. We don't take any money from the government. And so it's got to be done free of that, because in my country it's always a little bit of a problem. There's a lot of corruption there and so on. So I don't want to get caught up in that. So we try to raise our own resources. I really had to in the first one, I had to get all the reserves in the Heritage Foundation to invest into it, because the government was not ready to do it, although they approved it. But you have to get permission to block the streets, and they do give that, as long as you don't ask them for any money or any other thing. And that's how we are working so far. But now I see some kind of possibility of government saying, okay, fine, we'll let you do it and maybe give you some support. If they do, that'll be wonderful. But the fact is that I feel that there are things that we have to take up. I believe very strongly that, we need to take up causes, and we've got to show that it can be done. But certainly to block a street, we need permission, and that's all possibly that we need. Beyond that, we can do everything ourselves. And if you can get a community involved, they start planting, they start contributing, nothing like it. And they might, because we see that in my second or third street, we got community to start contributing. So it's a matter of showing people how beneficial it is for them, and then they will participate. Where in my zero donor funding model, or in this one, I find that once communities understand and people understand that there's some benefit to them, they will support it. So we have to always sort of, try to do that, and that happens. So, but I do take up one in Hong Kong, and we can see. I think I've said actually people in Oslo as well, I think they might take up one as well. I think it's a good idea to try it out, No?
We will try. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Dr. Lari and Peter. So to express our appreciation, may I invite Professor Ferretto to present a souvenir to Dr. Lari.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I must say you've all been very patient in listening to my harangue. I hope it made sense. I always wonder sometimes what happens, but I hope.
Now may I also invite Mr. James Kinoshita and Mrs. Lana Kinoshita, together with Mr. Andrew Kinoshita and Mrs. 𝐁𝐮𝐢𝐭 Kinoshita, our donor of the Kinoshita Lectures in Architecture, as well as Dean of the Faculty of Social Science, Professor Anthony Fong, to join for a group photo in front, please. Thank you, everyone. We would now like to invite everyone to have a grand group photo in the atrium. So please, at the same time, I would like to invite anyone on the first floor atrium to move forward to the atrium stairs to join this group photo. Wonderful, thank you very much. Thank you for being part of this memorable moment. Please join me in giving another round of applause to Dr. Yasmeen Lari for sharing her insights with us today on humanity, sustainability, and autonomy in architecture. Ladies and gentlemen, this also marks the end of the Kinoshita Lecture in Architecture 2026. Thank you for joining us today.